It's not there.
Fine.
I should know.
But
It's
let me
not
tell
there.
you where I'm coming from. One of the biggest problems that we have as this country is not being able to draw a line between politicking and governance. Politics is over. We're now into governance. The worst thing you can do to your country is to go and say that the past administration did absolute rubbish. Nothing has been done. That's what everybody had. Nothing. Everything comatose, blah, blah, blah. No. Look at the good things and tell your investors, look, we had this and this and this, but the challenge that we had was strong leadership to put it together. We now have a strong leadership. So you are adding to what was there before. So you are, because before you came, they heard about Nigeria. All the good things they heard about Nigeria, you know, and there were some that they were concerned about. Hype up all the good they heard and tell them that these ones you were concerned about, we are now taking care of it. I think that's the way forward.
Okay.
But to always say that the past administration, they did nothing, economy was in shambles, everything was in comatose and everything, is being unfair. And the next time this administration is out, a new one comes in. Remember the days of our coup? Every single person comes in and said, rubbish to the past, I've come as a savior. But a wise man says, I'm adding to what I already have. We had agricultural sector that was starting to make progress. We have come to address the one or two areas that they were not working well on.
Yeah, now that you mentioned agriculture, because I was thinking that we should take it maybe one after, yes, and you mentioned agriculture. We have over 84 million
housing.
hectares of
arable
land that, you know, like only about 40% is being cultivated. What do you think in that area we should do more so that, you know, we don't have to, in the land of plenty, still be in lack?
Two things. The first is, like I said, when you are looking for people to come in, when you are buying the best practices globally, because the world has become a global village, you do two things. You look for people that can come and take advantage of what you have. No investor comes to help. Every investor comes to make money and go. So you tell him, look, the land that we have is amazing. This is what you need. You have the equipment, you have the technology. Come make money here. You know, it's like, I've come to offer you a deal. Come and make money here.
Of course, not at the expense of the country.
No, that's not what you tell him. You know, of course, inside you've laid your ground rules. And I think that Chief Audu Ogbe, like you said, is a man that has a good knowledge of the terrain. All we need to do is, he might not be as current, but people within the agricultural subsector, that's why I keep saying, if you can talk about housing, should think in terms of how they can give value, how they can network with him, how they can come to him and tell him about the things that are possible. Because the very first challenge he has to meet is the challenge of the now. I've been into printing. I'll give you just a very little fast illustration. I've been into printing for a long time. I was known more as a printer. People will be shocked to hear this. And then my son came up wanting to do something about printing. I said, no, you can't tell me that. You talk of color separation, process color, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be more expensive, blah, blah, blah. He just smiled and said, Daddy, they don't do that anymore. I said, what do you mean? I paid your school fees from printing. He said, Daddy, they don't do that anymore. The costs are now the same. It took me to swallow my pride, as current as I am, and listen. And he just showed me something.
Supposedly current compared to yourself.
Yes, I thought I was so current. And I was talking with this air of arrogance and confidence until I listened to him and realized that he was right. I Googled it and realized he was right. So let these people that have come, some of them, that have had this knowledge in the past, first and foremost, listen and know that there are probably certain things that are new. When they listen and add wisdom to what they hear, they will be able to drive the process.
Now that we are still on you wanted to talk really about housing.
God
now, the Minister of Power, Housing, and what's the third one? Works. What do you think he should do? Even though some people think, you know,
I'll tell you. Number one is that he
person.
holds the key to solving the problem of this country, not just power. rural housing. If he sits down today, I'll tell you 1, 2, 3 things he can do and become a hero instantly. Go into the thatch roofs in the villages. It costs you next to nothing. Get 1 or 2 aluminum, roofing plants. They do special, roofing sheets. You can even brand it at the bottom, okay? And then make it available to rural areas to change their roof. Just change their roof from thatch to, aluminum. You create so much employment. You create so much, movement, aesthetics. You bring new life to the people. So much activities. What this government needs more than ever before is to take money to the lower bottom. Roads are good, but 80% of the road goes to the top. The bottom takes less than 20%. The reverse is in housing. 90% goes to the bottom. They supply the blocks, the sand, the cement, they supply everything. So when you take rural, housing program, just talk of remodeling. You spend very little, and create so much impact. Even this 5,000 they want to pay every month. 5,000 in 1 year is 60,000. 60,000 will more than change the roof of so many families. So I'm asking myself, what would I rather do? Give them 5,000 or convert it into something that is going to still put the money back in their hands and yet change the system.
Okay, let's go to Mr. Okolomo. Okay. What he is taking housing. What about power?
Well, before I talk about power, I just quickly want to summarize on what the both said. You see, the three ministries are very key: investments, trade, and industry, which Enelama is handling, Adeoshu for finance, and Udoma for budget and planning. Why it's key is that the only point that needs there is that the legislative arm, it's very important because the budget ends up with them, and they have the knife and the yam. We all know that. Now, Enelama should be able to do enough to attract FDI. When I say FDI, foreign direct investment, which is what will also help the agricultural sector. He must also work hand in hand with Audu Ogbe. In fact, I think Enelama, it was even better they gave him that ministry, if you ask me, with all due sense of responsibility.
So that was one.
Once it was a square peg in a square hole. I give the president top sum there because he's going to have to work very hard to be able to show up FDI. Enelama should be able to work hand in hand with a lot of the ministries like agriculture, even solid minerals. Enelama is going to have to work with them. Then he needs Udoma to be able to plan the budget in such a way that by the time Adeoshu now brings an impact on finance, they'll be able to put up a budget that by the time they take it to the Senate and to the House of Reps, will not come out the same, we all know, but will come out almost all the same. Because you talked about power now. If the right funds are not appropriated for power, there is nothing Fashola can do. Fashola will not have, we all know that it's not the actuals that come when you budget. Your budget, you are hoping. It's fate. You are hoping that this is what you're going to earn. By the time the actuals come, it might come short of what you have budgeted for. That's why some people talk of either supplementary budget in the life of a budget. Do you understand? And so by the time this budget comes out and Fashola has said, I'm going to do the hydro power plant because we need gas. For example, the largest gas reserve is from my community, and we have an IPP plant, which was the only IPP plant that was commissioned by the president then, Obasanjo. It is in Okpai. It's transmitting about 480 megawatts, and they have a phase 2. It goes all the way to Obosi. It's not even stepped down in my community where it comes from. But because of the large gas reserves we have in Okpai, it is able to feed that plant that was built by Daewoo for Ajib, and they go straight to the national grid, and that's 480 megawatts uninterrupted. Now, if you're able to get the gas reserves in my community to feed all the other plants, Lalauji and all the others that we have, a steady supply of gas will power the turbines. While we had steady light at the time, the permanent secretary Igali said that they had no plant that had been disrupted. None of the pipelines supplying gas had been disrupted, and the rains had helped the dams to power the turbines. Now, Fashola, what he now has to do is, first of all, to carry out a policy where he would sort of, because we talk about deregularization of the electricity, unbundling of the electricity companies. But we have not unbundled distribution. We have not unbundled generation.
No, not
unbundled. We have the gen. What we
have actually unbundled is selling it out. The discos are only selling out.
Yeah,
that's just the truth. We still provide transformers. I know how many transformers I provided when I was in government. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Let us actually carry out a real unbundling, which I know Fashola has had the experience from what he has done in the mainland and what he has done in Ibeju Lekki. That is the experience I expect that he should bring to bear.